mother, wife,
Air Force veteran,
gun rights advocate.
This is Stacy on the Right. Here's your host, Stacy Washington.
And I love it when a plan comes together. And you know how much I enjoy talking about education. It is important. It is a topic that parents really care about. And so much work is being done in that arena. And so that's what makes it so nice when we can have an expert join us. We have Arman Sidhu, founder and director of iCubed Learning Incorporated. He's a Young Voices contributor at youngvoices.org is the Twitter handle. Thank you so much for joining me tonight, Arman.
Well, thank you for having me, Stacy.
So your topic tonight is of the utmost importance because, wow, do we have a lot going on in the arena of education. So talk to me a little bit about iCubed. What is that?
Sure. So iCubed is what we refer to as a micro school. So for listeners, you can think of these kind of like the one-room schoolhouses that we used to have in this country. So these tended to be mixed grade level classes, typically was members of the community that worked within the schools for long periods of time. And really it talks more and speaks more to the demands of parents today, where after the pandemic, we really got a firsthand look at just how much is going wrong within our public schools. And as a result, the one thing that's hard for almost every school in this country to do well is personalized learning. So I started my career in K-12 education in Arizona as a public school teacher and got a chance to work as a charter school principal. And then Arizona made school choice history last year in creating the first universal school voucher program known as the ESA program. And since Arizona has done that, we've seen about 7 other states across the country adopt and really respond to what is a crucial need nationwide in K-12 education reform.
Okay, so that's pretty amazing. So let's now go into kind of what iCubed does. When you say a one-room schoolhouse, I immediately think of Little House on the Prairie, but this is not that.
No. So really the way that micro schools can be defined, and the beautiful thing about them is that there is a rationale for a micro school anywhere and everywhere. But the beauty of it is creating a model that's difficult for a public school or a charter school to replicate. So a lot of our needs around homeschooling in of itself may be very difficult for a lot of families, especially working families, to commit to. So organizations like iCubed and other micro schools across the country are providing a hybrid model where students can still get some in-person instruction. They don't need to be enrolled full-time in a certain seat for 8 hours to receive funding, but parents are given these education savings accounts in Arizona, and by withdrawing their students from public or charter schools, they can come to an organization like iCubed. We're a nonprofit. A lot of parents in Arizona tend to use these for private schools, so that could be secular schools, that could be religious schools, and really it provides an avenue for parents to put their money where their mouth is in terms of making sure that their students are getting the personalized education that they need. So for iCubed, that means something different for every family. A lot of our families are existing homeschoolers. Some are new to homeschooling for the first year. But really the bread and butter of these micro schools is what can you do for each individual family? Because families across the country can't wait for superintendents to figure it out or for governing boards to resolve that. That change really needs to come now. So in Arizona and in 7 other states since then, we've seen organizations like iCubed and micro schools really take off with parents.
So I love the sound of that. You're giving options to parents who might actually really love the idea of homeschooling, but they just can't swing it with their work. They can't move, right? A lot of the things that are difficult about education have to do with the fact that an option may exist that is fantastic, but in order for a parent or a family to take advantage of it, they have to be in a position to take advantage of it. Like you just can't jump in and start homeschooling kids, without having a parent who's home to manage that.
Absolutely. And it's no mystery what parents are looking for. A lot of families are thinking about safety. So we see that with concerns over school shootings, but also other things like bullying, which can really damage a student's relationship with school and relationship with learning. In addition to safety, we see a lot of concerns about curriculum. So for the first time ever, these ESA programs are saying to parents, you don't need to run for PTA president or you don't need to be on the school board to have your voice, choice, and agency expressed. You are given your funding when you withdraw your student from a public or charter school and are able to then use those funds as you see fit. So if you have a student that is maybe struggling in reading and you want to allocate more funding for that, as a parent, you now for the first time with these sorts of ESA programs have that empowerment in decision making.
It's so great. You can feel, I know for myself, I would think that parents would be feeling that relief. It would be an almost immediate thing where you know that you're now out of the kind of frying pan that is public education at this point.
Absolutely. And even beyond just thinking of the benefits for students, there are a lot of organizations that are poised to benefit from these types of programs. So the one that I like to talk about a lot is churches. So church membership in this country, as we've seen, many congregations struggle to engage young families with school-age children. And, organizations like iCubed use this micro school model, the one school or one room schoolhouse, to allow these types of campuses to open everywhere. So you don't need to necessarily have a lot of real estate to open a K-12 school, have all the bells and whistles that we see with very extensive infrastructure. We can see churches now join these ESA programs, get enough stability to launch programs off the ground and re-engage with their members and be able to give parents a trustworthy institution where they can send their students, not just the options that are limited based off of their zip code and where they live, but also organizations that they knowingly trust and work with already.
Fantastic. Okay, so you talked a little bit about this, but I wanted to kind of wrap this up. You have the education savings accounts, which in September of 2022, Arizona made, this history. They expanded it to all families. Can you speak to the possibilities, if there are any, of other states that might also take advantage of this, the legislation existing and maybe giving their citizens that option as well?
So I think it's really, Arizona is taking this first mover advantage, and there certainly will be things to work out in this program, especially when it relates to taxpayer accountability, because we want to make sure these funds are being used for the benefit of families and students. So I think that some states are going to be playing a wait-and-see game. A lot of the opposition tends to stem from teacher unions and other education associations that don't necessarily want to see these programs scale. But like I mentioned, a year ago, we had only just one state, Arizona, offer this type of universal access. And since then, we've seen 7 other states follow. It's also very narrowly missed in Texas and in Idaho. So this next legislative session, I think we'll begin to see a lot more momentum build for it. And these programs are only going to get stronger as more families join them. In Arizona, we have about over 64,000 students. And if you're thinking about that in terms of votes, right, that's a couple of parents and also extended family. So there are a lot of people that have buy-in into this program. And the more students and more families we have taking advantage of it ensures that these programs have some longevity and are sustainable.
Longevity, sustainability. I like it. I love it. And obviously, we all want more of it. So tell us a little bit more about, and you have iCubed. You're also a Young Voices contributor. You're spending a lot of time talking with them. Can you talk a little bit about Young Voices? And then I do want to close out with the differentiation of ESAs from vouchers, because a lot of the language can get a little muddied, and we'd love to arm our parents and families with that as well.
Absolutely. So Young Voices has really provided me with that outlet to talk about my experience. A lot of the focus on education tends to talk about kind of culture wars and things that are happening outside the classroom. And when I was a public school teacher, I used to make a little checklist in my head of all the things that I would do differently once I got to the principal role. And it really, in the realistic environment we have today in public and in charter schools, when you do make that changeover, you just realize how much of your time and your energy is already spoken for. And a lot of it is things that are outside of teaching and learning. So when we talk about things like school finance and funding and the things that are most important, Arizona's school choice history was something that led me to make that choice and say, this is an ESA program and this is an outlet for where I can not just provide services to the community, but also through Young Voices, explain why these programs have benefits. It's very easy for people on the outside looking in to have assumptions about things like homeschooling and micro schools, and it's another thing to have lived it and communicate that to the broader public.
Boy, is it. I mean, it's just something amazing in being able to say, yeah, I participated in that. I did that. That's my reality. As leftists sometimes like to say, that's my truth. You don't just have buy-in, you have credibility when you're talking about these things. So that is fabulous. All right. So the difference between the ESAs and the vouchers, if you could sum that up in maybe just one straight sentence for people who might be thinking of this.
Sure. So I like to use the analogy of health savings accounts. So education savings accounts allow families to withdraw the funding that their student would have gotten if they had attended a public and charter school. And those funds have rules on how they can be used. So most families tend to use that for private school tuition, but for a lot of homeschooling families, which has grown, that can be used for curriculum materials. It can be used for certain technology, and it really gives the parents that discretion over what curriculum and materials are most necessary to provide a personalized quality education for your child. And it empowers that decision, not with bureaucrats, but with parents.
Yay. Fantastic. Okay. So tell everyone how to find out more about iCubed. Maybe they're thinking of bringing that to their own area.
Absolutely. You can come to our website at www.icubedlearning.com. And you can always look at the National Microschooling Center as well. They are an excellent organization that is working with microschools all over the country. So if any listeners are looking for those environments, the National Microschooling Center has a directory and has some options that may be available in your community.
Perfect. Couldn't love it more. We're so grateful for your time tonight. And thank you for joining us and making it a really great time for us to discuss education.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much, Stacy.
All right. Have a wonderful evening. And we'll have more Stacy on the Right for you after this.